Making power by day, making friends at night. Built different, Tucker Speed. Hell yeah, brother.
But I think we're rolling, though. We're live. This is it. This is either the nasty dip, the bike-minded, the performance first, the high performance, the pursuit, the driven, the grind, the bad company, or the good company podcast. We're not sure yet, but who knows? We'll see. Now everybody's nervous to talk over each other, so everybody shuts up. But yeah, this is podcast episode number 1 of the Unknown Name podcast. So too much dead air.
This is going well. It's
Going
really
real
well.
good.
The second you said we
Everybody
were
said
going
we were
live.
going live. Everybody planned.
Yeah, you can't say anything. You just got to let it go.
No, we're good. Let's keep rolling. This is why we're doing a mock podcast tonight, is to get comfortable, get in the flow, feel how
So this is not going. This is just like a mock, just pretend.
mock.
This is not
This
going on the
is
interwebs.
not-
Gotcha.
That's going to be a no for me, dog.
Ooh, there's another one-liner. It's a no for me.
That's a
dog.
no for me, dog.
Podcast.
You can add podcast at the end of every
Yeah.
sentence.
No, but I think, so to introduce everybody, we've got the regular Tucker Speed crew here, starting with J.O., Jason Owens, our main man that runs our front end. He answers all our phone calls and keeps all of us working. I got Jake here to my right, Jake Hargrove. He's our, I don't know, we don't have titles, but
Idiot.
our lead tech, if you will. And shop idiot Nate. Old Nate Green.
Shut you up. Shut him up.
You stepped into that one, Nate. So yeah, this is our regular crew. We got Jordan is the man behind the curtain. He's over there pushing buttons and doing computer things.
Taking a nap.
But yeah, this is our crew. We're going to try and make this entertaining, keep it light, talk about motorcycles, talk about life, talk about food, talk about riding, whatever, racing, all those things. But tonight we're going to talk about us and kind of give everybody an overview of like what Tucker Speed is and how each one of us kind of got to where we're sitting here tonight in this chair, kind of back story of how we got into riding, what drew us to motorcycles and stuff like that. So, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe I won't go first. Maybe we'll
Make
throw
the
it
old
out
man
to-
go first.
We'll make the new guy go first.
Damn it.
Bam.
Well, he's not even here.
Yeah, we have a new guy coming, but he's not here yet, so he'll have to wait. But yeah, Nate, so
Okay. So back in 3rd grade. No, just kidding. I don't know. So I started out probably high school, right before I was getting my driver's license. I started learning how to ride bikes. My dad had a bike the whole time I was growing up. I bought it.
you grew up in Utah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I grew up in Utah. I grew up just over the hill in Garland and Tremonton. I bought the most absolute piece of shit bike I could find the second I had my learner's permit. Rebuilt it.
Was it a Harley?
No, it's a piece of shit 1980 Honda XL 500.
I think that's where we all started in a roundabout way, something like that.
No,
but yeah.
it took me a minute to finally actually get a Harley, and now none of them run. Well, actually, the one runs. It just isn't legal. But decided I was going to go to school for motorcycle mechanics when I graduated high school, and then started signing up and realized that it was expensive as shit. So
The school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I decided to join the Marine Corps. Spent 5 years in the Marine Corps in North Carolina, overseas a little bit. Got out, went to MMI, did all the Harley classes I could get my hands on. Did the early model Scream Eagle as well. Even made the mistake of doing a Honda class. Fall asleep during that one.
I don't think it's a bad idea, though. When I was there, I wish I would have. I didn't. I wish I would have done one of the metric brands.
I think it would have been better if I'd done the Honda first, because after going through all the Harley stuff, the Harley's way more in depth, way more just like, they definitely have it better tuned. I went into Honda class and I was running out of shit to do every day. And then I ended up giving up on that, worked at a few shops in Arizona, and then got sick of 114 degree weather and moved back to Utah into the absolute shit show of snow weather that we've had since I've moved back.
Worst winter we've had in years for sure. But Yeah. So the first time you ever rode a motorcycle? That bike in high school?
No, so I rode a little bit. My dad's, like, one of his riding buddies had a little shitty dirt bike. I don't even know what it was. It was some, like, off-brand thing. And I started learning to ride that when I was, I don't know, probably 14, 15 years old.
Street bike?
No,
Dirt bike?
It was a little, like, dirt bike. It was weird. All of the gears were up. Like, first gear and everything was all up. So it was weird. Learning curve. Rode it into a building.
Nice.
It's great.
That explains a lot. No, that's good. I mean, what'd you think of MMI? Like, honestly.
Well, so I talked to a few people before I went to MMI, and a lot of them, like the majority of them, said it depended on what, like, you got what you put into it. I absolutely loved it. For me, a lot of the classes were super easy to do. Like, the most difficult stuff was just learning the electronic crap, like all of the like digital tech stuff that you can't even use unless you're at a Harley dealership.
Right.
I don't know. It was pretty fun. And I actually ended up working at a shop while I was going to school, and then was doing everything from side-by-sides, dirt bikes, four-wheelers, and Harley, Honda, and every other import. But
I mean, that stuff's good because, I mean, it gives you like a good general mechanical knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to, like, because I mean, the thing is those bikes are a lot different than Harleys, but like, it still gives you like a solid foundation.
yeah, and I mean, it's still been beneficial for me. Like, I did all the import stuff, and there isn't a single person in my family, like all of my family rides, there isn't a single one that owns a Harley except for me. And like even my extended family, they all have Yamahas or Hondas or something like that. But it's always come in handy. I mean, it was definitely a, like, you get what you put into it kind of thing. I walked out of there with, like, all except for my last class, I walked out with student of the course, got director's list. I never did miss a single day. I absolutely enjoyed it. It was a blast.
So I'm just curious, how'd you do in high school?
I think I was saying like a 3 to 3.5 range.
It's better than me. I mean, honestly, I struggled and I barely graduated. And it wasn't that I wasn't smart. It was just like, I didn't go to school. Like, I would go to school in like first thing in the morning and like hang out with my friends before class. Mm-hmm. The bell would ring and I would just leave. Like, I would just left school like every day to the point where like I barely got by. Like, I just wasn't into it. But then when I went to MMI, like I would stay late. Mm-hmm. I would go home and do homework. Like I couldn't get enough of it.
I rarely did my homework when I was in high school, but I was every single day. I'd get done with school. I'd go to work, get off work, and I would do all my homework, then go to bed.
Yeah.
And like I was living alone. Everything out there was just me and my dog, so I didn't have anything better to do anyway. But I figured, well, since I'm technically paying to go there, even though Marine Corps paid for it all,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to get everything I can out of this. Like, this can be my life. High school was a lot different. I had all my credits by the end of my junior year. So my first 3 hours of high school, I was over at Bridgerland doing welding. I got certified in welding for there a little bit.
And I look back and I wish I would have done that in high school. Like, because I love to learn stuff now. But when I was in high school, like, I couldn't stand it. Like, I wish I would have applied myself more in high school. But that just never clicked with me until I got to MMI for some reason.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I goofed off in the Bridgerland classes a lot too. Like, I definitely didn't get everything out of my high school and like doing the Bridgerland stuff as I needed to or could have if I'd actually sat down and paid attention. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Like, for me, maybe the reason that I was so much more focused into MMI is like by the time I'd gotten out of the Marine Corps after the 5 years with that, I knew that is exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. Mm-hmm. I was getting out of high school. I was like, maybe this is what I want to do as a career when I get out or get done with school and graduate. Like, it was still kind of up in the air. There was one other thing that I thought I wanted to do. I think it was probably welding. I can't remember at this point, but after realizing how expensive it was, I was like, oh, this would be a great idea. My buddy convinced me that, oh yeah, just join the Marine Corps, you pay for everything. I was like, okay, cool. And then that 5 years of being there, I built my Sportster during the last 3 years of my contract with the Marine Corps, and I built the whole frame for that and did all the engine work and everything. And that was pretty much when I realized that, oh yeah, I'm obsessed with this, and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So by the time I got out of the Marine Corps, I was like, yeah, there's nowhere else I was going. Like I'd already got accepted to MMI before I got back from my second deployment. I was like, okay, cool. This is where we're going. And then got to school, realized how like absolutely fun, like how much fun I was having. I was like, if I can make it a career out of something I absolutely enjoy doing, that am I having a blast doing, and I can go get paid to do this. Like, this is exactly what I want to go do.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. Like I feel like this industry, like I talk to a lot of people that it's you have to kind of be bit by that bug, right? Because like logically, this career doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like when you put it on paper, right? Like it's terrible hours, terrible pay, not great benefits. Benefits being the traditional health insurance, 401ks, PTO, all that type of stuff, but it's like the trade-off is you get to do what you love every day, right? And so it takes a special person to kind of want to give up all those other things to be able to do what they love every day.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a struggle for me. Like once I got to Arizona while I was in school and everything, to like once I finished school and then I was doing that full-time, I was full-time mechanic the whole time. My first few shops made it really, really hard for me to still like appreciate bikes and really enjoy it. Like for a little bit there, I was just like, maybe this isn't actually what I want to do. But one of my buddies, like while I was still in the Marine Corps and doing everything, and I was helping everyone in their bikes in my unit and whatnot, he looks at me, he's like, yeah, you rode a bike once and you've been obsessed and you made it your personality. And I was like, I wish it was a little bit less accurate, but I don't mind. I absolutely love doing it.
I feel like the same way. Like, I mean, because I've rode, motorcycles and ATVs a good portion of my life, from childhood. But I feel like that when I went to MMI and decided that this was my career, like I had like found it sounds corny, but I feel like I found my identity at MMI.
No, that's
what I mean?
Kind of like how it went for me, because I did okay in high school, like with classes. I didn't fail anything. I was doing all right with it, but there was a lot of stuff I just absolutely hated doing. Like geometry was the only math class I enjoyed. English, I'm terrible at it. You ever listen to me in the back of the shop and stumble over everything? Jake doesn't think I can read.
I haven't seen you read an instruction manual yet.
I have. Whoa. Okay. I just look for the pictures. That's all. Okay. The pictures usually I can figure that out from there, but no, it was just I couldn't focus on anything solid enough to like fully get an understanding of it after I got out of high school. Like I don't remember half the shit. Geometry I got pretty good, but once I got into MMI and once I was like before that when I was just working on bikes, something about just like working with my hands, doing the tools, everything like that. I remember everything. Like with that, I know what I'm doing. I don't have to sit there and be like, oh, what was this step again? I know I just did it yesterday.
Right.
And there's odds and stuff you got to do that with, and you can't memorize everything, but the most of it is just kind of falls into place. I can do it automatically, and there's not much other than that I've been able to. So yeah, it kind of turned it into my personality.
So how many years have you been like actually working in the motorcycle industry now?
September this year will be 4 years.
4? So still fairly new, but got some years under your belt plus schooling, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's good. I mean, I think I talk to a lot of people, and I think there's a lot of parallels with myself and what you're saying. Like I said, I mean, I got to MMI and really discovered who I am. Like I felt like I found out who I was, and like it just made sense. Like, and everything I was doing was clicking and making sense, and it felt like, it was like this is what I was, destined to do. Like this is who I am. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it sounds like you kind of felt a lot of that same stuff.
Yeah,
so.
and it's kind of been like, I got to fight for this to want it, and then like once I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to it and do it, and then it just was like, okay, yeah, no, this is really actually what I want to do, and I can't really think of anything that I would ever switch to do, or that I would actually be good at this point.
Well, and I've seen that. I mean, I worked in the dealerships for 8 years, a little more than that if you count the dealerships in Phoenix. But I mean, you see guys come and go. I mean, You know, we had guys that would come into the dealership and they were diehard, like right out of MMI. I mean, and like so far, like getting, you know, Harley tattoos on them and stuff. And, you know, in another 2 years, they're, you know, doing construction or whatever. So it's like I've seen a lot of guys come in and they're diehard and they're like, this is me, this is who I want to be, this is my life, this is my career. And then usually women or something comes into their life and
It just kind of falls apart.
destroys that idea or whatever.
That was also something that was kind of crazy when I went to MMI. There was a handful of people like in my classes that either didn't even have a motorcycle license, never ridden a bike before, like never picked up a tool before. They're just like, oh yeah, no, I figured I would just give this a try.
Yeah, I had the same thing.
I've got a few guys that I still talk to. Not a single one of them is doing motorcycle
working on
mechanics.
bikes.
They all went back to their home states and
Went back to their old jobs or
their old
whatever.
jobs, or went and got a different job. And they're like, yeah, no, I just use this to work on my own bike now, or my buddy's bike. I was like, that's crazy, because I went and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Like I knew this is exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is where I'm going. And they're like, oh, you know, I'm just kind of winging it. Like we'll see where it happens and like what goes. And you're like, okay, I can't picture it that way for me because it's all I wanted to do. So
I got one more question for you. Looking back, would you go the route you did and go through the Marine Corps again, or would you pay for it up front?
oh, absolutely, I'd go the same route I went originally.
No regrets?
I wouldn't change anything I experienced or learned while I was in the Marine Corps with people I met there. I can't trade that experience for nothing. So
Do you think that also kind of shaped where you're at today?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changed a lot with like my entire personality changed from just high school to going through that and everything.
I mean, I'm
got a chance to.
I'm not a military guy, so I can't speak from experience, but I can only imagine that would definitely have a huge impact on who you are today and how you operate. You know,
Yeah, it changed a lot for me, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, the good or the bad. I'd just keep it all. I would do it the exact same way every single time.
you guys can chime in. You know, come on, Silent Bob.
He's taking a nap. He's staring off into the.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's good. I mean, you guys, I mean, do you have anything? It's a good story. I mean, I think that, I mean, for me, there's, you know, the MMI route, it's very similar. And I think that, you know, I didn't do the military or anything, but like getting to MMI and, you know, just falling in love with learning about motorcycles, I think is a huge thing. Like if you don't love what we're doing here, then you're not going to do well at it. Like I think that's the huge thing. This is a passion job, right?
Yeah.
Like
Your heart's got to be in it.
yeah, you can't just clock in and clock out in a job like this. Like it just doesn't work that way. It's too reputation based. It's too customer service oriented. Like, and where we live in Utah, like reputation is huge. There's not that many riders out here. So like if we're doing crappy work, you're gonna run out of work real fast. You know what I mean? Like so.
Well, and like just since I've started here, the amount of times I've told you like doing odds and stuff, you teaching me stuff about the dyno room and doing some of the custom engine work and some of the fabrication. I've told you it's like, oh, this is like my absolute favorite part of this. Like this is basically I'm obsessed. Like I want to do this again or do that. Like machining out the inner cam bearing lobes in order to fit the larger
Bigger
cam.
cams.
Or like decking the heads, the port and polish. Jake showed me how to do that and everything. It's like you don't get a lot of places that'll do that, let alone take the time to teach you or give you a better understanding of like, hey, this is how I did it. You know, look at this way without it sounding like you're talking down to him or demeaning him. Like, oh, how didn't you know that?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I think we've always had the mindset here that like we're only as strong as our weakest member, right? Like, and trying to share knowledge between all of us. Like, it isn't I'm smarter than you. It's like I know things that you don't know, and you know things that I don't know. So if we share them, we're that much better as a shop, right? You know, we continue to grow together and learn from each other, and there isn't this I know everything attitude. You know, I don't know. Maybe you guys think that about me. I don't know.
Well, no,
I mean, definitely not.
But it's like, you know, I want to, you know, I always try and preach like the second that you think you know everything is the second you quit learning things. You know what I mean? Like I try and continue to learn things every day. no matter what it is. And that's, for me, where I'm at, like, not just about working on bikes, because now I have like an entire business to run here. And so like, it might be, working with Jordan and learning things about the e-commerce business, or, working with Tori, my wife, and learning how to manage our money better or whatever. It's like, I'm trying to learn things every day about, really like 4 different careers, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you guys have all brought in your experiences and added to the team, and that's the way we have to all look at each other.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah. And I mean, I know I talk about like my past shops. If I probably every day I talk about something different with that, at least when me and Jake are talking in the back, but it's hard to compare them to Tucker Speed. The shop's got to be the best one I've ever worked at. I mean, I was here for not even 2 weeks, and y'all took me to Daytona for the last race of the season. Mm-hmm. And that's probably got to be one of my favorite experiences I've ever done. Like being a part of that, and
that's good to hear, because that's why I do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it costs the shop money to take all of us to the races and everything, but it builds a strong crew and a strong team. And, like, it goes back to the, like, we do this because it's what we love doing. Mm-hmm. And we don't love doing it if we don't love who we're doing it with either. So as much as it gets stressful around here and hectic, and I might get in a bad mood or whatever, but I still love you guys, and you're still like my crew and my team. And we all have to like love what we're doing and love who we're doing it with. And that stuff goes a long ways to building a good team, is to be able to share those experiences. Cause I mean, I worked in the local dealership here for 8 years, and I didn't do one motorcycle event the entire time I was there. I didn't go to Sturgis. I didn't do, any rides or events or going to shows or races or anything like that, because we were so tied down to the job. And I got to the point where it was like, I hated motorcycling, and so like, I just don't believe that that's why we all got into this. Like, we got into this stuff because we love anything with 2 wheels. And, the opportunity for us to go to Daytona and watch motorcycles race on the high banks of Daytona Speedway is something that very few people honestly get the opportunity to do. And I hope that like you appreciate the opportunity, and then you come back and the work that you do is better because of it. Yeah. Like, that's the idea, right?
Right.
And I hope that it works. I don't know. Like,
it's another one of those, like, those experiences that I would never trade for anything. Just getting a chance to learn that. There's so much into the racing that I never even knew existed.
It's a whole nother world.
Even like when we were just we were sitting here just talking about you doing the flat track and every stuff and all that stuff like that. Like, just learning about that, it's amazing. Jake has got your setup like down to a T with his whole notepad. Yeah. And he's got everything written out, and learning from him, like, I learned so many different things as far as like gearing, you're setting up the tire warmers, all like everything with that. It was one of those ones was like, that's an experience or stuff like I get a chance to learn that I don't know a lot of other people that get that chance. Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, I think we're in a unique spot where we're at, and I enjoy it. Like, I might not show it every day. I might come in and be grumpy or pissed off or whatever, but I think big picture, like, that's, this is where I want to be, and I'm doing it with people that I enjoy doing it with. So Jake, you're next. So Jake Hargrove, he's kind of stepped into my lead tech role. I'll give him that title, lead tech. It doesn't come with a raise though. But yeah, give us a rundown of how did you get to the chair you're sitting in right now?
Well, for starters, I did not grow up in Utah. I grew up in San Diego, California. And I didn't go to MMI. I was originally in the automotive industry. I was an automotive tech right out of high school. Was also going to college out there for that sort of stuff and for diesel mechanics. And it wasn't until shortly after high school when I got my first bike, which was a Sportster, and started working on it myself, that I really decided, like, all right, like, this is something I want to pursue. And after moving out of California and into Utah, I got into a shop up in Logan. I was working at Renegade. We did the metric side of things, from street bikes to watercraft, dirt bikes, ATVs, side-by-sides. But I'd always wanted to transition into Harleys. That was always kind of my end goal. And it just so happened that one day I actually messaged the Tucker Speed Facebook page and asked if you guys were hiring, and was told that as of that day, you guys were looking for a tech.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was such a weird day because we had a guy give his 2-week notice, and then like 2 hours later, we get a message from you. It was almost like it was meant to be. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah.
Don't let him lie to you. He was definitely stalking you. He's been standing outside the window with the crackheads waiting for you to show up.
Probably.
May or may not have been, but yeah. And you guys got back to me and said to send in a resume, and came down and talked to you. And after you offered me the job, it was just, I felt like it was meant to happen. Like, the timing worked out perfect. And I mean, it's just, I've been so thankful to have the opportunity to be here from that moment. Like, this place always seemed to me like it was like it wasn't achievable, like it was above, working at like a Harley dealership and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I've followed you guys since, what was it, like 2017?
You got to do
since,
the old Butcher Cross, right? Or
yeah,
was that?
it was out at Tracker Cross.
Tracker Cross,
up
yeah.
in Riverside, California.
Yeah.
Was that when you were still living out in California?
I was still living out there, and
It's still so weird that we were both at that race.
yeah, like I went up with some buddies and whatnot, and I saw you guys out there, and
That was my first flat track race ever.
yeah.
So
And
I
like,
probably
how
looked
wild
like a
was that?
goon.
Like
I probably still look like a goon on the flat track bike, but yeah. It's
It's
still
all about
weird.
having
It's still
fun.
just, weird how the world
It's
works
just a small
sometimes.
world.
Yeah.
like I never would have thought that day, like what, is it 4
4 or 5 years later. Yeah.
that I'd be here. And then 2 years in, also still here. And I think it's just
You haven't
crazy.
gotten fired yet?
No, not yet. But yeah, and it's been awesome being to learn the Harley side of things. And like you were saying to Nate earlier, I think that working on the metric side or side by sides or any of that, at the end of the day, like we've kind of talked about, a motor's a motor, and I think having the general knowledge is a good step in the right direction. And then it's just kind of fine tuning to the brand, That's been exciting to do that. And I've just got to learn a lot from you, and, working in the dyno and getting to, start doing tuning and whatnot. And it's been an awesome ride.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I mean, you've stepped in and like, coming from the metric world and like being, fresh into the HD world, like I would have never guessed, honestly. Like, I mean, you kind of hit the ground running like from day one.
Right.
Like, and I would have never guessed that, like, I mean, obviously you were working on your own stuff,
Yeah.
so like, it's not like it's the first time you ever worked on a Harley, but, I mean, you definitely have the gift of like the mechanical ability and being able to understand and see how things work, know, that some guys just, as much as they want it, they just don't have it. You know what I mean? Like, there's some dudes that have never worked on something and they can just look at it and see how it works.
Just kind of figure it out.
And
as
figure
they
it
go.
out and know that, like, oh, this is right or this is wrong. And some guys want that so bad. And it's just one of those skills that I just think that, like, you either just have it or you don't.
Right.
Some guys will work really, really hard. Some guys that don't have it will work really hard to get it. And that they can get by. And then there's dudes that may never pick up a book or go to school at all. And they're some of the best motor builders, bike builders, part manufacturers, designers, or whatever. They just get it. You know what I mean?
I say that was one of the things that blew my mind when I first started here. We just set up back in the back. I got my toolbox in there, was doing stuff, and Jake was helping me with something, and he's like, "Oh no, you gotta do it like this." I never would have guessed you've been here for 2 years. I would have guessed you've been doing Harleys for 5-6 years plus, and you went to school for it and everything. And then I was talking to you, he was like, "Oh yeah, when did you go to MMI?" And you're like, "Oh, I didn't.
Right.
I worked I was an automotive tech before this." And I was like, shit, that's impressive. Like, yeah, I mean, the amount of shit I've learned from you. I mean, I've done school. I've worked in the field for a few years now and everything. But I mean, I learn shit from you all, like, weekly, daily, depending on what we're doing.
That's what it's all about. Like Tony was saying, it's just all about sharing knowledge, and I think we all bring stuff to the table where we can learn from each other, and I think that's important in a shop.
Yeah, I think it's, there's definitely times where I'll come to you or come to one of these guys and ask an opinion or whatever because I'm not sure, and we'll work together, and two minds are greater than one.
For sure.
So yeah, I think that's one of our strengths, and I think having a guy like you that, like, I would say out of the four of us sitting here at this table, you probably, in my opinion, have the most natural mechanical ability, I think. And I think that's, proven by the fact that, like, you stepped into this shop with no Harley knowledge and, like, and looking at where you're at today, like putting motors together, dyno tuning bikes, like, and when you come to me and ask questions, like, you're asking the right questions, right? Like, I can tell the guy who gets it and the guy who doesn't by the questions he's asking. Right. And you're asking the right questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that.
So yeah, I mean, so how many years have you been in the industry then?
For Harleys, it would be two.
We're like right at your 2-year anniversary now, huh?
Just passed, yeah. March 2nd was the day.
2 years. 2 years of pandemic shop where we've been busy too.
We've been way busy. And not to mention just the ups and downs throughout the shop, with change in personnel. And
yeah, I mean, we've had a few guys come and go. There was a couple guys here that were here when you started that are already gone.
Some guys that came through after and just didn't work out. And
Bridger, one of our good guys, but he had his accident and he's passed away now. Like, and that was a taxing thing on our shop that maybe some people don't know a lot about. But when we have a tech that we work side by side with and we're this close with, and he goes out and is in a motorcycle accident and loses his life, like, that hits us hard when we are a shop who work together and care about each other and love each other and travel together and spend time together, and then a loss like that, like, it shakes us. Like, honestly, like, the things that I've been through in the shop in the last 8 years, that's the most catastrophic event that this shop has dealt with.
I believe it. I mean, it's like losing part of your family.
For sure.
Like, Bridger was like a brother, and that was, shop aside, that's got to be one of the hardest things I think I've dealt with, period.
For sure. I mean, it was great. It was bigger than the shop, bigger than motorcycling, bigger than anything. I mean, it was a life-altering event that I think has changed us. I mean, not Nate. Nate wasn't here yet, but I mean, I think we'll all be affected by it for the rest of our life. It was a life-altering event that, and Bridger was a kid, same thing, went to MMI, discovered himself, found his place, found his people, he found his tribe, felt he had finally, fit in.
Finally belonged.
He belonged to a group of like-minded people. And I used to laugh because, I mean, he would say the same thing to me. Like, coming to work at Tucker Speed was like, the unattainable thing. Like, and that's hard for me to wrap my head around because like we're just a little hole in the wall independent shop. So it's like this place that's not how I view it. So like to hear you and like to hear Bridger used to say that, like I guess I don't know how to take that.
Right.
Like it's humbling for sure.
Yeah.
And it's great to hear that's how people on the outside view us, but to hear Bridger, like, you know, his story of going through MMI and then, you know, getting offered a job to come work with us was like his dream.
Yeah.
I'm like, this place is your dream? Like, this place sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get it sometimes. But I guess I do, but I don't. But yeah, then to have his accident and to see a young kid who just has so much potential,
Right.
so much energy, so much enthusiasm for the industry, and to be cut so short. I mean, it's just like I said, it changed me forever.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it changed all of us, but at the same time, I think in a roundabout way also changed us for the better. I think all of us are better for having known him.
For sure, definitely.
And getting to experience
Bridger. Yeah. Because, I mean, it was definitely, I mean, we joke all the time that, you know, I mean, we still crack jokes about him. You know what I mean? Like, and there's, you know, I don't know that we'll meet another one like him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is. And we are all lucky for being able to spend a short amount of time with him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, appreciate you and being here, you know, and being part of our crew and everything that you do for us. So with that, we'll move on to my most, I guess, I don't know, is he the most senior? Are you the most senior or Jordan? Are you guys got to
Senior
fight
citizen,
over
I
it?
think Jordan is.
We talking about age or
I'm 25.
Age, it's J.O.
I'm
But
25.
now, how many years you got in here? So we're going to move on to J.O., my main man, Jason Owens.
Oh, I'd say.
We call him old man. We call him
Velma, because you can't
Old
see it.
Peepaw.
Where are your
Peepaw.
glasses?
Yeah, Grandpa. Yeah.
whatever. But
I
yeah,
get hacked on and just hacked on the senior citizen over here.
so
Thanks.
how many years have you been in you know, working with us here? Because you had a break.
I did off and on. I met you because I was at the tail end of a military career and hit up Tony. I think I met you at Golden Spike. I saw you Golden Spike because I was kind of trying to get a feel for the industry as I was transitioning from military back to civilian life. And, you know, motorcycling, Harley Davidson has kind of been in my blood for a little bit. And I figured I'd trying to think about, okay, what am I going to do for the next 20? And, you know,
Boy, that's where you steered wrong.
yeah, big transition. But one of it, motorcycling has been something that, I mean, I wasn't brought into it growing up. It was one of those deals. I lived in a family that it was kind of frowned upon. And the only way I,
Really? Because I know I've gotten to know your dad a little bit.
Yeah.
He rides.
well, I got him into it.
Oh, so you started it and you
Yeah,
got
I
him
started.
into it. Okay.
And, because when I was younger, I'd always I had friends who had the motorcycles, had the YZ 125s. I think the old Big Red 3-wheeler was my first taste, back when I was, I think, 10.
It's a death trap.
Oh,
I
it
think
was.
everybody's got a story
It's
of
a
almost
fun
dying
death
on
trap,
one of those
though.
things.
I rolled my ankle, and that's why my mom was like, no more, because I got my leg caught underneath the wheel because I was right on the side of it. And my buddy was, he was piloting that thing, and I ended up getting thrown off and ran over type deal and wadded myself up. So mom's like, no more. But that kind of caught the bug still, and then
It planted the seed.
yeah, exactly. So ran on some 125s. My friends had the 125s. And then when I got in the military, one of my old senior master sergeant had this. It was a 94 Sporty, and he was selling it because he was retiring, and then I think he got a Road King. So senior master sergeant Jones. And
The old teal one.
Yep, the old
You gotta love
teal.
the old teal
Yep.
90s Sportsters.
That was, I see it. I saw one, I think about a year ago. That was the same year, color. I was trying to buy it off that guy. I can't remember his name, but yeah, I bought that one off of him. And I had never ridden, motorcycle on a street bike. That was my first street bike. So I kind of learned on those back roads out in Arizona, self-taught.
You were in Arizona for the military still.
Yeah, and that's where I picked it up. That was back in '96 is when I bought that. And
You are old. That's when I was born.
from there it started. Yeah. But I learned that. I held on to that for probably about 4 years. So I went to Korea and I sold it to my dad. He got into it with that bike. He learned on that one, and then after he got that the 99 FXR 2, he bought that one, and then
I think it's worth its weight in gold now.
I still got that one, and so I bought that once he ran that one for a few years. And
did you buy that new?
Yeah, brand new.
Yes.
And he had the old that was back when you had to sign up
the
for
waiting
the
list.
bike, the wait list. And he
back
put
in the heydays.
Yep, put money down, got that one. He really didn't want that one. He wanted a Fat Boy, is what he wanted.
Oh, really?
And so he got, but they were like, hey, either that was the time where you take it or leave it. We got
There's no options.
Yeah, no options. This is what we got. Get it, and that's what he did. The old Arresting Red. And so after I came home on mid tour from Korea, rode that one, and you could tell the difference. That was when got the old 80 Evo on there, and
I think probably felt like a ripper back then, huh?
It did compared to that Sporty. I was like, oh, this is
This thing's got some guts.
This thing's quick,
Back there.
80 cubes under my legs.
So yeah, then in 02, he's like, man, I'm gonna get me a Fat Boy, and he got his 02, and he's like, hey, do you want to buy this one? And I was like, yeah, let me work that one. So I bought that 99, and then got that one, and he's still got that 02 Fat Boy. I've been trying to get him on a road glide, but
I know he's been talking about it for a couple years.
I know, but yeah, he's got the old Lydia's still got the chisel on him. Well,
How old is he now?
He's probably I want to say 75. I think is
Man,
where
the old
he's
lady's
at.
just still got it.
Still give him the gun.
Yes.
Like they all do. But yeah, we still run that every year. He's still got that little, I think, 4.5 gallon tank. So I always hack on him when I got my 6 gallon Road Glide, and I have to alternate gas stops. I don't have to gas up every time, so I always dig on him there. But yeah, I got him into it, and every year we do a run together. Try to. It doesn't happen every year, but that's the one week I enjoy the most is going hanging out with him.
You guys make some
running.
long runs too. Like you're not just
do.
like riding up the canyon. Like
No.
you're going cross country.
Yeah, we're doing. It could be anywhere. You're looking at maybe 5,000 to 8,000 miles is what we're normally running.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take a spot on the map, pick it, and try to make it there. One of our favorite spots, of course, is old Tennessee.
Yeah.
Up in there running that.
Some of the best riding.
Man, it's beautiful
Yeah.
up through there. But so yeah, I did that. Had a few bikes over the years. I've really all Harleys. I felt kind of like you. Well, all of us. You're in with the history. At 1903, just seeing what that company has done, and it's held the test of time. Through the transitions and all that. And definitely going to Milwaukee is one of my favorite places to run to. And I know we got to go up there this year, and Jake got to see it for the
still
first
never been
time.
there.
Nate hasn't been yet, but Milwaukee's just one of those blue collar / where a lot of stuff kicked off back in that 1900s. You look at everything that was this country was transitioning, and that was one of them. So just to be able to ride that history on the daily it's important. And going back, yeah. So what I was here, I probably met you. What was it? Was it the 20?
Had to have been 20.
14, 15. I think when
Here at the shop or
I passed by here and because I'm always looking for an independent shop being military. I don't know how Nate was.
That was the same thing. I
Always try
thought
to
when I
find
first
that.
started, like when I started school, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna go work in a dealership. And then more and more, I was like, I really don't want to work in a dealership. And I've never
Yeah.
actually ended up working in one. I think you're probably I guess your last shop was a
Metric
dealership of
shop.
sorts, but it was metric.
It was a dealership. Yeah. It
but
was,
yeah, I never had an interest in working in a dealership. I didn't want to do that, pull a part off, put a new one on, put just a parts changer. Never was interested in just changing stuff. I wanted to actually build shit, just actually do something with it, not just, oh, here, let me put a new set of lights on there. Let me change your fairing or something. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was actually really, I saw you at the parts counter at Golden Spikes. I went there for parts. That's where I saw you. You were back there. And then when I was transitioning out, I think you were back. You might have been, I don't know if you were wrenching back, if you went back there, or did you stay parts? But I think I had talked to you kind of about, hey, what do you think about, going to MMI? Because that's what I was looking at. And I had tried doing MMI back in early 2000s when I was at Arizona, but it was hard for me being military because we were always switching shifts, and you had to pick a days or swings, I think. And so I could never get in there and use it. So, after all that, I was like, man, what am I going to do? And so I figured, man, I'll give it a shot. And I talked to you, kind of, I think I was even, who was that? Mike Green. He was there going, I talked to him a little bit, about just going to MMI and the what to expect and all that. And then kind of the industry, and then I think I actually talked to you when you were in here, opened this shop. I popped in and then started grilling you about, hey, what do you think about this career, school, and all that? And you gave it to me straight, I think everything you talked to with Jake, hey, it's not probably the best career to go into. It's basically love of the game.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, if you're going to be honest with people, I mean, I still tell people now, it's like terrible pay, terrible hours, terrible benefits. Love what you do.
And then
lay it out on the table, and that's what it is.
Yeah. You even gave me the opportunity. I think I was kind of coming in here moonlighting with you guys, learning, and just to see if it was something that I want to do. And you kind of gave me that shot of just coming here after hours, and hanging out. And I could tell even with you had your act together as far as, hey, this is a guy that knows what's up, knows the industry. And then you can even see, you with the wrench, a lot of talent. And this guy's definitely a good mentor. Saw that. So then, I kind of molded around, because most of us, you come here, I retired out here at Utah at Hill. Most guys just go up there on base, get that job and double, quote unquote, double dip, good pay. But
just sitting at a desk or just doing some
exactly
random job.
We had a few buddies that do the same thing. You do the exact same job you were doing when you were in, but depending on what your job was, pretty common. They just never go anywhere with it. But
you just sit there and not that dead. I call it the dead zone. But then I, talked with my wife. I of course talked with her about it, and I was really on a fence on what to do. I mean, I knew I loved it. I could, always had that passion riding. I always liked wrenching because I wrenched on aircraft, the fighter aircraft, my 20. Something I always liked doing. With my grandpa, kind of taught me the mechanical side. And like you guys said with school, I'm not really a school guy. Never. I mean, I got my 2-year degree. With the military, they always wanted you to get the 4-year, but I just not the classical college type guy. So anyway, after talking with Tony, and then my wife's like, just go do it. If you don't, you'll regret it. And she probably was the one who pushed me just to pack up and
go to school.
Do it. Yeah. And I didn't go to MMI. I did the Fort Scott. I know we always shoot banner. Me, Tony,
I got to stick up for my alma mater. But Fort Scott guys don't know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, I think from what I'm seeing, like Fort Scott it's Harley only. They don't have the metric. You can't take the Honda, Suzuki, BMW. It's strictly
you go straight Davidson. Into the Harley curriculum.
Yeah, and that's it.
It's kind of a condensed version from my understanding of MMI.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
No,
it's quicker and cheaper too, right?
Yeah, and you're doing the community college type deal, so they can give you a 2-year degree along with your certification.
And you're working like you're going to school like on a traditional semester based schedule, right? So you have summers off and stuff.
Yeah, and I had and then one of the things I had to do was an internship, and I did it. They allowed me to do it here but they wanted you.
I
to
know
do it
that.
at the-
I remember it was kind of
Yeah.
a fight for you because
Yeah.
they wanted you to go to a dealership, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I went to Golden Spike, and they kind of, Craig just rolled his eyes at me, and you kind of see it. He's just like, what is this? Because nobody's heard of Fort Scott. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say I have no idea what the hell that is.
And I the only reason, that's another story. But my ex fiance's dad lives there. He's a vet, and he's the one who told me about it. And we still keep in touch with those guys. And I thought he was up in the night, as you would say, up in the night. But I looked at it, researched it, and I was like, okay, let me just go do this because it's probably a little cheaper version. I did the GI Bill, which same thing, and then also I double did the welding program, and that was more of the industrial welding, with the 1/4-inch stick is what I did.
A lot of like MIG and stick welding type stuff.
It's a different beast than welding exhaust, different technique, no doubt. But I did those two things, and then of course you offered me a job. When I got out of doing that, I want to say that was at 17, maybe?
I think 17 sounds
Around
about
there.
right.
And then worked here for 2 years of just
Through
was it 19?
19-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and then I got burned out. This was a grind.
Yeah,
with
and
it.
that was in our early years too, and we were grinding hard too,
it was-
like more than
were
we are now.
6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing. I mean, working till 11 midnight at times. Not only motorcycles, but doing stuff with the shop,
Working on the
doing
building,
expanding, and
Yeah,
and all that. I kind of felt, I had to take a step back just with the hours I was putting in. I got a young family, and I started a little bit late. So I remember, the old Minnesota was we were doing the X Games.
oh yeah,
That's when I said I'm gonna do my 2 weeks, and I felt I needed to take a break. And I went to the base and got a job on there, kind of doing some stuff that I did with military. It was military, but it was behind a computer. Was it easy? Yeah, it was easy, good pay, but I just wasn't challenged, and I got bored. So, and came back. Asked you. I think just because we always kept in touch, of course, when throughout, even when I was up there. I think I was up there for about a year and a half, and then around there, and then finally decided that it just wasn't for me. So I put in my 2 weeks there, and then you just swept me back up into here, into the old grind over here.
Yeah.
But it was something that, like you said, it's that passion. Always loved working here, and it loved everything you guys did for me, especially your knowledge of. Definitely been a good teacher, mentor. The patience you have for training and helping all of us out that's rare. You're not going to find probably guys like that.
I appreciate
some guys
that.
are my way, the highway, and if you don't like it, beat it. But you've always taken that time to teach and help out. And it's been I still can't think of anywhere else I'd rather work. There's those days, like you said, that this is a grind, and it's not the easiest job at all. There's a lot of moving parts. Everybody thinks, oh, I ride Harleys, I can just work on them. Oh no, we all know it's a different beast, man.
It's still a job, day in and day out. We put in our hours every week. Like, it's still a job, and there's stuff that we got to deal with that we don't want to deal with, whether it's dealing with an upset customer or dealing with back-ordered parts, or this bike just turned into a nightmare of a repair or job or whatever it is. Like, and there's always crap to deal with, trying to hit goals. And, at the end of the day, it's still a business. And it's fun and all to come work on bikes, but at the end of the day, like, if we're not making money, we don't survive. And so there's kind of this, like, you gotta keep grinding, and sometimes it gets hard. Like, it's tough to come in every day and be like, I gotta do this job, and this job by the end of the day, and and it's everything you can do to get through that work. So yeah, it's a grind. It can be taxing. I mean, especially come riding season around here, like, you know, customers can be pretty, you know, unforgiving and unappreciative.
Kind of
with,
demanding.
Yeah, like, I got a ride tomorrow, so I need you to get my bike done. It's like, why didn't you call us a month ago? Why did you wait till today? You know, and so yeah, it can be a grind at times. But I think like I have to, you know, occasionally step back and remind myself why I'm here, and that I, you know, big picture, I love what I'm doing. I might not love what I'm dealing with at this moment with this customer, this bike, this employee, or whatever it is, like, but at the end of the day, like, I don't want to go work in some factory, you know, some factory, you know, assembly line, or you know, behind a desk, or hell, even digging ditches or building houses. Like, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, this is who I am. This is what I do, and this is where I want to be. You know, so I got to remind myself of that, and I think that, like, in my opinion, you got into this and it was harder than maybe like it looked from the outside, and you had to take you stepped back for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden you missed what we had here, you know, and realized that, like, yeah, it's a grind at times, but overall,
this is my people. Like you said, I think you guys hit on it. The tribe. You know, I mean, this is like, we're like family. You know, all of us. Yeah, we come in and we crack up, we hack, but, you know, at the end of the day, you guys are my family. You know, and I didn't have that on the base. You know, those guys were just guys that I knew them and all that, but it wasn't. We didn't have the same, you know, the same love, the same desires, the passions. You know, is right here that the life on two wheels, the motorcycling, you know, all of it, the camaraderie that it brings people together. And, you know, that was the one thing I was missing too, was that, you know, when you're going to a job and you're just going there to get a paycheck. I mean, what fun is that?
I know I've told Jake this before, but like, I've only been here since beginning of October last year, and there hasn't been a minute that I've been here that I haven't felt like immediately part of this shop. Like, I feel like I've been here for 2 years, the way that everyone acts and talks, like just the camaraderie. And one of the things that was a pretty big deal for me getting out of the Marine Corps was I was pretty sure I was never going to find that again. And my first few shops, that was 100% true. The second that I started here, it was immediate. And then Jake started shit talking and made it worse. So I mean, it's
all part of it.
It's all been like I said, like, you know, you guys took me with you to Daytona, barely even here, not even got a first paycheck, and already you're like, yeah, let's go to Daytona, let's fly you all the way to Florida and check out, you know, the races and everything. I don't know of any other shops, and I don't really think there's that many out there that are the same way that this shop is. Like, this shop is amazing. This is one of those ones that I'm sitting here, I'm realizing that, you know, I've only been in for about 4 years, almost 4 years now, and I never would have expected to find this shop that early in my career, or get the opportunity to work here. So it's always
good to hear. I mean, you know, I feel like if we're speaking to the general public, or speaking to guys out there that are like looking to get into this field, like, I definitely don't want to talk them out of it. I don't want to make it sound like every other shop in the country sucks to work for.
Well, it's going to change based off of your personality and how, like, I think just everyone's personalities work really well together here.
Yeah.
That isn't to say that someone working at the same shop as you might have in the past doesn't have a better experience there.
Yeah, we've definitely had our personality conflicts with some guys that have flowed through here. Like, not everybody comes in and just meshes well. Like, there's always going to be personality conflicts. And if there are guys out there that are, you know, questioning, like, whether they want to get into this field, like, I'll just lay it out on the table, like I have, like, to you and everybody else that's ever come to me and said, hey, should I go to school? And it's like, here's the facts. You'll never make a ton of money. You're going to work a ton of hours. there probably isn't going to be a ton of benefits at whatever shop you work at, but you're going to love every day, going to work every day. And then hopefully you can find a shop that you love working with the people. Or, I mean, if I could rewind 20 years and go back and know that I'd be sitting here right now, like having my own shop, like I was just some dumb kid who barely got through high school. You know what I mean? Like, and at that time, we had 2 kids, and we packed up and I moved to Phoenix to go to school. Like, and here I am with my own shop. I don't want to say it's successful, but we're surviving. I mean, and I get to do what I enjoy doing, and I work with guys that I enjoy being around and traveling with, and talking about motorcycles, riding motorcycles. I mean, so like, if you're thinking about doing it, like if you love this stuff, it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah.
You might not get the paycheck.
It ain't about the money though.
It's not about the money.
Money ain't everything
at all.
Like,
I gotta say, like,
if you're not happy, money ain't gonna get you there. It ain't gonna make you happy.
Yeah, that's what it, basically it's like. I'm not gonna get rich, but I can die happy. I was like, I love doing this. So
Right. I always kind of look at it like, when I look back, I'm sitting on my deathbed at 80 years old. Do I want to look back and be like, oh, I made X amount of money and I became CEO of this company, like, or whatever it is, or I worked on an assembly line and I made the exact same part for 40 years straight. Like, is that, I don't want to look back at that. Like, I want to look back. And that's where I felt like when I was at the dealership, I felt like I was in a spot that, like, if I stayed there till 80 years old, I would have looked back and regretted sitting there at that dealership, because I wasn't going to events. I wasn't experiencing the motorcycle culture and the industry, and I wasn't doing things that I enjoyed doing. I was working on bikes, but that was really the end of it. Like, I think there's more to this job than just working on the bikes, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that, like, for us in our shop in particular, the racing side of things has given us a lot of those opportunities to go out and experience, motorcycling in other forms in different places around the country, meet people from other shops or other brands. We make all these great connections with people, which, sometimes comes in, it's beneficial for us when we come back to work. It's like, oh, I know so-and-so over at this brand. Let me chat with him about this or that.
And picking their brain, just, getting an outside perspective on something. And I think that we've had that a handful of times at the races, and it's helped us with our race bike and, also I think day to day in the shop.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gives us, every time we go to a race, we learn more about the motorcycle, right? Yeah. And then we can bring home that knowledge, and it makes us that much better at what we do every day.
Yeah.
We can pass on some of this knowledge that, we learned at the racetrack for our customers' motorcycles. And, I think overall it's been great for me. It's been great for the shop, for the team. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very expensive. Yeah. We are looking for sponsors, so hit me up.
If you need race gas.
If you're interested.
If you're looking,
Jake, call your mom.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's an expensive thing, but I think in the long run, like and the thing is I'm just a racer. I've loved racing my whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've raced everything from RC cars, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, off-road, on-road, drag racing. I just love racing in any type, and so I love doing it. And this shop has given me the opportunity to, pretend like I'm a motorcycle racer. And that's, like,
I wouldn't say it's pretending. I mean,
I grew up watching motorcycle racers, and like that was like my dream, is to be a motorcycle racer.
Right.
And and that's part of why I got into the industry, is just because I loved it so much. But like, you get stuck in that dealership rut, and you're so far away from that, from being a 15-year-old kid watching motorcycle racing on TV. like you get stuck in that dealership route of just, you know, doing oil changes and tire changes and bolting on chrome all day. It's like all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, this is not, I thought I was chasing a dream,
Yeah.
but this is not my dream. You know what I mean? And it just got to a point where the dealership just wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I had to make the leap and try and make it happen. And I never really had this plan of like building a shop and going racing. That's all kind of just come naturally.
Right.
And I think it's come naturally because in the beginning we didn't race, right? You know, me and you and TJ were grinding in the first years to get this place off the ground and running. And it wasn't until like, you know, we started, you know, we had a good foundation, and then, you know, the racing bug never goes away. It's like, let's go race something, you know what I mean? And it was about the time that like the whole hooligan race scene came about, and it was like, let's go race hooligan stuff. And we've been racing ever since. And I think it's given our shop an identity of who we are and what we do. And it's been huge for me. It's been huge for the shop. It's been great, you know, to get our name out there and in front of people. You know, it's crazy to have people come up to me at some of the races and be like, oh, I'm a huge fan. I'm like, I'm just a regular dude, you know what I mean? But it's humbling, and it's been an awesome ride for sure. So, I mean, yeah, you know, kind of getting back, like if you're listening to this and you're thinking about jumping into this industry, I would say go for it, man. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Yeah. Really. I mean, you can and go into it and you'll get what you put into it. Like school, you won't learn anything at school unless you apply yourself. You got to go there and apply yourself. And the same thing goes out, you know, when you go out into the career field, whether you're at a dealership, you know, you working for, you know, this brand or that brand, or working at an independent shop, or even trying to open your own place. Like, you'll get what you put into it. And if you don't love it, you're not going to go anywhere. So if you don't love it, I'd probably, you know, hit up the local university or whatever and go get a journalism degree or something like that.
Bachelor's degree. Wow, I can't speak today. A bachelor's degree in basket weaving.
Something, yeah. So I don't even know how long it's been. A couple hours?
It's past his bedtime. Pretty sure the nursing home
Hour?
closed.
No, we got. It's only 8:00, man. I'm still good. I got about 30 minutes for.
You know, the shuttle's still running?
Yeah, they'll be picking me up here.
These guys.
Yeah. Since we were kind of talking about everyone's background, what was the turning point for you where you decided, like, all right, like I'm going to open my own shop? Like, where you decided to leave
the dealership? That's kind of there's a lot of parts to that story if you want to hear it. But I guess that's why we're
You're up next.
That's why we're doing a podcast and, you know, long form conversations and stuff. But yeah, I mean, so kind of like a little bit of a backstory. Like, my family have always been entrepreneurs.
Right.
My dad, my grandpa, my great grandpa, my grandpa on my mom's side, like they all worked for themselves. They all owned and operated their own businesses in one way or the other. My dad's side, they were all in the gas station, service station world. I always had like this, like, I don't know, like this drive or feeling of like that. I wanted to be self-employed at some point in my life, but like stronger than that was the motorcycle bug that, you know, that I caught. So like I said, I grew up riding off-road stuff, motocross, sand dunes, desert racing, stuff like that. We used to do sand drags, you know, growing up. You know, and I was mid-20s before I decided that I was going to go to MMI. Just like on a whim. Like, I think I was literally like at home watching a motorcycle race, and an MMI commercial popped on, and I was like, I like dialed the phone number and like signed up. And then I called my then girlfriend, now wife, Tori. I'm like, hey, we're going to Phoenix. You know, and she was on board. Like, she was like, sweet, let's go. Like, and I moved to Phoenix and got a job down there at a metric dealership. Went through school. Like I said, I fell in love with school. Like, I applied myself. I stayed late. I asked questions. I did my homework. I took everything I could out of that school. And I feel like I couldn't have, like, I gave it everything I had while I was there. And then, you know, come home, I moved back home and get a job in the dealership. And, you know, I got my foot in the door as a service writer for a couple of months, and then a tech position opened up and I moved over to a tech. What was a tech for 4 years. A position came up for parts manager that they came to me and wanted me to do because another backstory on that is, like, I was racing motocross at the time.
Right.
I'd gotten back into motocross while I was at the dealership. Broke my hand racing motocross, so I couldn't really tech.
Right.
I thought I was going to get fired. I thought I was done. You know what I mean? So I go in the day after I break my arm. I'm in a cast. I go and talk to the dealer, the owner there, and he's like, no, like, we're not going to fire you. Like, just go work the parts counter, help them. They're a little short-staffed. Go work the parts counter for the time being until you get healed up, and then we'll put you back in the shop, which was great, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I went and worked the parts counter for a couple of months while I healed up. And it just so happened, like, at that time, it was like towards the end of the summer, towards the end of the riding season, going into fall, the parts department, like, they needed to get ready for, like, their year-end inventory. And the place was a mess. Like, they didn't really have a manager then. Like, nobody was really doing anything there. And I was just like, well, I'll do all this. Like, I'll take this over. Like, so I kind of, like, took over the inventory and, like, put in a couple of procedures and made some stuff happen, which was great. And I got all that done. My arm healed. I went back to working on bikes, worked on bikes. And then, like, a year later, they needed a parts manager. And they're like, hey, like, you know, when you were in parts last year, you did a pretty good job. Like, we'd love to put you as parts manager. And so I kind of, I don't know. I wasn't really sold on the idea in the beginning.
Right.
Because I liked working. Like, I like,
you like
working on bikes. I like being in the shop,
teching.
you know. So, but, you know, the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll go, you know, it gives me a management position, like, which sounds better than it really was. But it gave me an idea to learn, like, actually, like, rather than spending a couple of months in the parts department, I actually learned how to run a parts department.
Right.
You know, dealing with managing employees, dealing with managing an inventory, dealing with hitting sales goals, dealing with creating, you know, specials and deals and all, you know, all that type of stuff. So I figured, you know, like, I'll make the change and it'll pad my resume, if you will. Like, so I made the change and I did the parts manager gig for 3 years. You know, so at about that time, me and my two brothers, had always kind of talked about, like, running a shop a little bit, doing some stuff. The three of us, you know, we found, you know, I was actually doing a little bit of work at my house because I was parts manager and I, like, still wanted to work on bikes. So I was doing, you know, and I had taken all my tools home from the dealership. So I had all my stuff at home. I had a lift there. And I was doing a few jobs, you know, odds and ends at my house at the time. And I had this one old lady I worked on her. It was an old Fat Boy. You know, and I would service it once a year for her and stuff. And she just wanted to sell it, you know. So I ended up, I talked to my brothers. I'm like, hey, you know, this lady wants to sell this. You guys want to go in on it together? We'll buy it. Like, it was pretty old and run down at this point.
Right.
Like, you know, it was like 15 years old, like, just needed some love. And so we all chipped in and bought this bike. I think we all put like $1,500 in and bought this bike. You know, we stripped it down, rebuilt it, refurbished it, painted it, did some motor work and stuff, and flipped it. And that bike is like as the three of us were working on that bike, we decided, like, hey, maybe we could just do this, like, buy and flip a few bikes here and there.
Yeah.
So we started, like, looking at, like, little spots to rent or whatever. And then it was like, well, if we're going to, like, buy and flip bikes, we might as well have, like, a shop and, like, work on bikes. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And we ended up finding this location. We moved in. At this time, so I had quit the Harley dealership at that time. Quit the Harley dealership because I was just really burned out there.
Yeah.
And this was all going on like after hours. We were working on this bike, kind of brainstorming like opening a shop. I quit the dealership. I went and got a job just in a manufacturing plant for the time being. And we were like talking about opening the shop. This was 2014. So we open this, we find this spot, we move in, we all have day jobs. Me and my two brothers, we have day jobs. One of us was here while the other two were working our jobs. And that first year, that's how we ran. The business, we didn't pay ourselves anything. Everything we made was
going back
into the business. We would buy more tools, we would buy more parts, we would buy more stuff. And we did that for a year, but the next year we knew we were already getting too busy. So I made the leap of quitting my job at the factory over there to come over here full time, and then it's just been game on ever since. And it all just kind of happened. Looking back, it happened so quick. And I would say, looking back now, I knew I was burned out at the dealership.
Yeah.
I knew it was just. I felt like I was doing a really good job there, and I was getting handed more and more responsibility there, but my paycheck was never going up.
Right.
You know
Nothing
what I mean?
was hand in
I
hand.
felt really unappreciated over there.
Yeah.
And, it just got to the point where it was this just isn't for me. And then the whole thing, the after hours, talking about opening our own place, it started to gain some traction, and then that drive to want to run my own business kind of kicked in, maybe I could really do this. And then it was on from there. So yeah, it was me and my two brothers that started it. My brothers have moved on to other jobs. It just was something that they just they didn't have the love. I don't think they had the love for it that I do.
Yeah.
And then they quickly found out that there's not a ton of money in the motorcycle industry. There's a lot of hours, a lot of crap to deal with, and so they're doing their thing, and I'm left here running it, and I wouldn't look back. It all just kind of happened naturally. I don't think that there was a specific moment where it was nope, this is what I'm doing. It just kind of seemed to happen.
Flowed on its own.
Yeah. It wasn't ever forced. And I know that first year when I was working a 40-hour week over there, and I was probably putting another 40 in here, it was a grind. My wife will tell you, I was never home. I rarely saw my kids.
Yeah.
But it gave us a strong foundation, and that was 2015. And we've been going ever since. And it's crazy to see where we were in 2015 and where we are today.
Absolutely.
It's wild. So, that's the short story. Yeah. But yeah, the brand it's crazy. We go to Daytona and people recognize us, or we go to Sturgis and people know who we are. It's if you would have asked me that, almost 20 years ago when I moved to Phoenix to go to MMI, if this is where I would be, I'd say hell no.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah.
But it's pretty crazy to look back and to see where it's come.
Yeah, that's quite a long ways.
It's wild to think and I don't feel like I'm that old, but I've been in the industry for 20 years now. We moved to Phoenix in 2004. I worked at a dealership here locally for a little while before that. I have some friends that build hot rod, drag bikes and stuff. I spent some time at their shop before I moved to Phoenix. So I got 20 years in the industry now, and I still feel like I'm only 25 years old, I'm trying to go out there and race motorcycles like I'm a young buck, and I'm in my mid 40s now and trying to live out a childhood dream, but I'm really lucky that I get the opportunity to do that, you know what
absolutely.
I mean? So, it's taken me a long time to kind of come full circle from that 15-year-old kid dreaming of being a motorcycle racer, watching it on TV to having
hit
the
the banks of
opportunity of
Daytona.
racing Daytona Speedway last year and racing, the Bagger Racing League and the hooligan stuff and all the stuff that we've done in the last few years. Like it's really come full circle for me, and I finally got to where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Just took me a long time.
I mean, long time or not many people get to live out that 15-year-old dream.
Yeah, I am super lucky that, that I have the opportunity to do these things, and I have what I have, and I got the team, and I got, a wife that embraces all of it. She's at every race with us. She works here. She's just as much of part of our team as any one of us.
Absolutely.
Straight sixth gear.
So yeah, I'm super lucky. So I can't, I am like, and it's humbling and it's great. Like, and like I said, you guys, you see me on a daily basis, and I probably come in the morning and you're like, oh, he's pissed off today, he's grumpy and whatever. But like big picture, like
Hair day.
I wouldn't change it for the world. You know what I mean?
I say you still look happier than Jake is in the mornings. I
Yeah,
said
but
hi to
Jake's got
Jake.
an
I said
hour
hi to Jake
commute,
this morning when he
you know?
got out of
Yeah,
his
man.
car. He looked at me like I just like stepped on his cat or something.
I'm not
He's
a cat
not a
person.
morning person. He's not a morning person either.
No.
So yeah, that's my story in a
There's a morning
nutshell.
person here. Except me. I'm the only morning person.
You're a morning
I
person.
have to keep it
But
calm.
you're the last one here every day.
Yeah,
That's because his morning starts later. That's why he's
It's
a morning
easy to be
person.
the morning
I'm the
guy.
morning
who lives
guy.
10
I live
minutes
the
from work.
closest, and I'm the last one here.
Both me and Jake got to drive almost an hour. You're like, I'm 10 minutes away, and you're still the last one here.
You got to do the old daddy daycare stuff.
Yep. Just dad
No.
of the year. Forget my kids. Sorry, kids.
Well, this is still the unnamed podcast. Hopefully it's been insightful and gotten to know our crew a little bit. We look forward to growing this podcast, bringing on guests of, from different backgrounds, different industries, motorcycle or not, music, food, whatever else that we're into, like tattoo shops, whatever it is.
You guys won't know this inside joke that we're laughing at.
Yeah.
Ever.
So yeah, we're excited to bring out a host of different guests and different perspectives on whatever, or different topics. We may just jump on here one week without a guest, and we may just talk about Bagger Racing League or a new Harley release or whatever, maybe our Sturgis trip or whatever it is we went on. So hopefully it becomes entertaining for some of you guys. We are going to introduce like a listener question of the episode. So we want to get people engaged. We're going to make an email that you can email some questions in. If you have a good question, maybe we'll read it on the podcast. If it's dumb, we probably won't. So save yourself the time and don't send any dumb ones. So yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next go around.